We made 20 years ago, which is, I think, being released this week by Wanderful interactive storybooks. And we worked with Jack Palevsky, the children's poet. He was the first U.S. Children's Poet Laureate, and he actually performed on this. And it's from his book, New Kid on the Block.
My baby brother is so small. He hasn't even learned to crawl. He's only been around a week. And all he seems to do is bawl and wiggle, sleep, and leak.
So we did this book in black and white. It was the next step of a living book, which we're studying for a little bit younger audience. And I was inspired because my own kids were having to learn poems to recite in school. And then I thought, well, it'd be fun to do an interactive storybook. That's why and the safety pins are so that you can read one line at a time.
My baby brother is so small.
If they were learning it. But in every word, in living books, all the pictures were alive. But the picture is not alive here. The only thing that's alive here is the text. And so when you look at a word, you get animations that are related to it. And
to around,
let's see.
Wiggle, leak.
So that's the surprise. It's the discoloration. Right. Yeah. So, right.
Hi,
So
I'm Jack Palevsky. Welcome to
Jack is
Living
quite a
Book.
performer. So he
I
actually
wrote the poem,
sang and did a lot of the pieces here.
Though I'm usually a poet, today, when Tilly ate the chili, she erupted from her seat. She gulped a quart of water and fled screaming down the street.
Now this particular poem has about 15 stanzas. It goes on 3 or 4 more pages. But we wanted to make it so kids could play in it individually. And what was interesting about it was that all the nouns,
Tilly,
I'm clicking on Tilly, identify themselves.
chili, seat, quart, street.
They all identify themselves.
Water.
And all of the verbs do their actions.
Ate. Erupted. Down.
So it was taking the words and putting meaning into them. And consider this is 20 years old. This was 5/12/384. Went on the very old first color Macs in schoolrooms. And by the magic of bicubic interpolation, we were able to get them to come back up to into the screens and replay. We couldn't even get to any of the original assets. We had to reverse engineer CD-ROMs, and I really appreciate my team. It was really incredible to do that. And patient. They were very patient. We put new interfaces on it, and there is a whole section for, I'll do it very quickly. There's a whole section here for teachers, resources. There's a whole 35-page thing that teachers have about how to use it in the classroom, and other poems and other pieces that go with it. There's parental tips. There's a whole set of settings where they can turn different parts of it on and off so they can have it the way they want it. And then I'm going to end with hopefully a little
Pick a poem. Click on the arrows. Till you find one you like to hear.
We'll do a sing-along.
Have a poem read to you. Click
Are you
Read
ready?
to me.
Yes, you read.
Okay.
Everybody?
Everybody?
Wherefore be performing bananas in bright yellow slippery skins.
Our features are
rather appealing, though we neither shoulders nor chins. We touch up and dangle and we skip and we hop. While half of us belt out a ballad, the rest of us sing like a top. We're 40 performing bananas. We mumble, we samba, we waltz. We dangle and swing from the ceiling, then cranberry flakes on our salts. People drive here in bunches to see us.
Now everyone.
Our kids are not worldly renowned. We're 40 performing bananas. Come see us when you are in town.
Singing that in the sure, we'll get you on it. We'll go on to more poems. I'm just going to drop out. So thank you. That's
Pick a poem. Click on the arrow.
Kid on the Block.
To find one you'd like to hear.
Wonderful interactive.
To have a poem read to you, click Read to Me. To play inside a poem.
I think it just came out just recently. It's called New Kid on the Block, and it's by Wanderful storybooks, interactive storybooks. And there's about 30 poems, and then there's the real poetry book that you can buy as well, of course, by Green Willow Press, I believe. And this was an interesting one for us because I knew a lot about how kids use living books, younger kids use living books, and we found that older kids were using this. And what they really like to do is they would, an emerging reader will click on the words one at a time, and they'll go, just grandma and me went to the beach. So, because they're building language in their head, they're mapping the sentence. But someone who can already read, a 7-year-old comes in and plays with things out of order. And we found that the older kids are having a lot of fun with this because every time they'd make up a sentence, it would animate. Because we had, everything animated that was a major word. And then they turn around to us and go, did you see what I did? Did you see what I did? And of course, they all animate. You can't make a mistake, but any questions?
Anybody have questions or comments?
This is just a question. So we're thinking to design a story but I never have done it, and you've been expert, so I'm asking you. There's this thing that when kids looking at the attractive media, if two things are going at the same time, they'll always place of attention.
Absolutely.
And here, is it that we want them to look at the words or we want them to look at the animation, and how could we sync them so that we direct their eyes where we want them to go?
First thing happens is your eye goes to the biggest thing moving on the screen at the time. So, but having two things going on at once, when I was first building living books, I was working on a product called Little Monster at School as my prototype. And I didn't know how to do the voice, so I thought maybe I'd have him be the narrator because it's in the child's voice, and he would step into the scene like from behind the proscenium arch, and he's reading the story. And it's highlighting over his head, and he's just standing there talking. And when we played it with the first group of kids, we realized that they were all looking at his mouth. Nobody was looking at the highlighted text, so then we had to have him come in from off screen, and eventually he stayed off and it read, and then when it was just that, they would follow the text. And then he would bound into the scene. It was much better animation. But they really follow whatever it is. If you want them to follow the text, you have to not have a lot of any other distraction going on.
One of my standard questions is monetization. How are they doing? How do you measure how they're doing? And what are the things that work for you?
How do you measure? We always figured we measured how we were doing was that we had teachers buying lots and lots of them for their classrooms with their own money. So we figured they were working, and I don't know that we actually did that kind of testing. I know that with Noodle Words, we know that kids are actually sucking the words up while they play. We can test them right afterward. They didn't know words before, and they know it after playing for 10 minutes. So there was 3 questions.
I'll ask you.
Okay.
Yeah, one more over here, and then we'll.
I like your application so much. And I like the art and the music, the animation, amazing things. One question is that is the character in the menu recording yourself? You design that person, in the menu, just like you.
Is the question?
You talking about the singer, the animated singer?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's Jack Pilecki, the poet.
Yeah, and the real question is that do you have more interaction for kids in this app? Because you just attach, you see the animation, you hearing the song, but do you have more interaction, make the kids into your app?
Is there more interaction than what I showed you?
Yeah.
No. That's it. What we found that this was enough because they wanted to play it. That they liked it. They played it over and over. It was silly by throwing in those little moments of disequilibriation, the surprises where the water comes out the ears instead of puddling out on the first one. Because there's things they don't expect, it makes them want to have to click through everything to figure out what else is in there.
So lasers?
Yes, please.
Would you like to frame it or just Western Magic?
No, just a minute.
All right, Western Magic. Are you liking what you see?
Oh, yeah, I'll report back to the wonderful. You can, thank you.
Oh. Thank you, Mark.